Welcome to Imprint, a podcast about creating a home and life you love. I'm Natalie Walton, an interior designer, stylist, and best-selling author focused on an holistic approach to homes. Each week, I'm sharing insights and interviews about the creative process to help you enhance both your interiors and well-being, as well as provide you with the tools and resources to make considered and sustainable choices with all that you create. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Imprint, the final episode of this week-long bumper series all about the season of style. I hope that you have had a lot of value out of these episodes and that you've had perhaps a few little aha moments, or you've had the encouragement, the ideas, the support, the insights, whatever it is to help you, encourage you on your journey. So I'm wrapping up this little series with an episode about what's possible for you. And the reason I wanted to do this one today is I think it is so important. It is perhaps the most important, and yet it often gets overlooked. And I really wanted to help. I know everyone loves to hear like the tips and the tricks are all related to styling or interiors and all of those things. And look, they're all important, and that's why I've done them. But really, this is foundational. And what I want you to know is that for so many years, I didn't know what was possible for me, or I didn't even believe it. I might see what other people were doing, and it's one thing to awaken yourself to it, and it's another thing to actually step into it. And I want to share some ideas with you that I really hope you're going to find valuable, that is going to give you the courage to pursue what is on your heart and what you really want to do, and what is going to help you make your creative dreams a reality. Because we can want something, but unless we take action, it won't happen. And a big part of going from wanting to, achieving is actually stepping into the belief that it's possible. And so possibility simply refers to the potential for something to happen or be achieved. It's about envisaging what could be beyond the current reality, so beyond what is our current life. And it's really about, recognizing like the opportunities and the potential that's in front of us, even if they don't necessarily feel instantly tangible or visible. And so why this is important is that I think that we do need to pause at some point on our journey and really recognize both what we really like deep down within us, what we really, really want for ourselves, for our lives, for our families, for our homes, all of those things. Like, what is the thing that, if we're being really honest with ourselves, what is it that we truly desire? And I really believe this, that we all have different desires for very specific reasons. And that when we listen and recognize and acknowledge those desires, they provide the map to our destiny that we just need to step into. And that we have to be quiet enough with ourselves to listen to what that is. And that's why I often talk about this idea of listening to the whisper within you. What is the whisper that you have within you right now? What is trying to tell you something? What is your deep inner knowing, your deep wisdom? What is it trying to tell you right now? Because we know the answer. We know what we want. But so often we hold ourselves back because we have fear or we have worry. And sometimes we hold ourselves back because we don't know what's possible for ourselves and we don't believe it. And believing it is so important. And we have to believe it before it even becomes real, before it becomes possible. And so, first of all, I think what's really important in terms of a practical part of this journey is to really recognize the potential within you. So recognize and identify, what are your strengths and your talents? What are you good at? Yesterday, I was sharing on the podcast about how, I've got a little bit of OCPD, this tendency towards perfectionism, like sort of rearranging labels and liking everything to be ordered and lined up and all of those things. And, that is a unique strength, a talent. Well, it's certainly something that I've been able to filter into the world of styling that has opened up all sorts of possibilities for me. It's enabled me to work for magazines. It's enabled me to travel the world styling people's homes. It's enabled me to create beautiful books that are still bestsellers, 6 years later. It has enabled me to connect with students all around the world through my course, the Styling Masterclass. It has opened up so many possibilities. I just had somebody the other day inviting me to stay at her house on Lake Como. I mean, I would never, ever, ever, ever imagine that was a possibility. And so we don't always know what the possibilities are, but we've got to step into our desires, step into our dreams, and then all sorts of doors open up for us. So first of all, identify what are your strengths and talents? What are you good at? And then, really acknowledge and recognize that and look at how can you harness that into something that you want to create for your life. And also, I think it's also important to recognize that this journey, it is not always smooth. It is not linear in the sense that, you start at the beginning and it's just like this upward, trajectory over time. Along that journey, there are peaks and troughs and ups and downs and so on. But over time, yes, you are progressing. Yes, over time, you are ascending and getting further and higher and closer towards that ultimate endpoint. But there will be, bumps along the way. And know and understand that. And it's also important to really broaden your understanding of that experience of other people. I mean, one of the ways that I do that is through listening to, a range of different podcasts and different interior designers, and that's, and different creatives. And that's why I love speaking to them on this podcast. And the questions that I ask them are ones that I'm very curious to know myself. It's not just, for you as a listener, but it's very much, I'm curious to know about the challenges that they faced, because when we see and recognize that in other people, that, other people started with helping friends and family, and then, then they got more and more clients, and then their team grew and the business got bigger and bigger, and then they started opening a second office and all of these things. It all starts with a simple decision to take action and to step into the possibility of what they can create. And so we need to, expand the possibilities of, what we see and what we expose ourselves to. And sometimes we don't have that within our local community. Sometimes we don't have that within our circle of friends. And so sometimes we have to borrow that circle of friends by reading books and listening to podcasts and, going to workshops and exposing ourselves to different ideas and different people and different possibilities of being. I mean, that's why I love doing this podcast. And even though, sometimes the solo episode perform better than the interviews, but I love it. I love the opportunity to speak to other people and learn about their journeys. So, I'm always doing that myself. And I really would encourage you to be, a lifelong student in terms of what's possible for you. It's also important that we need to embrace uncertainty on this journey and know that, it's not always guaranteed, but that with every single step of the way, we are either learning or we're winning or improving. We are not failing. Failing is not a word in my vocabulary. I'm learning so many lessons. I'm not failing. Failure sounds like a dead end. And when you learn a lesson, it is not a dead end. So take that word out of your vocabulary, take that word out of the possibility for you, because you won't fail. You will just learn. And then you iterate and you keep going, and you iterate and you keep going. You get more information, you iterate and you keep going. And that is how you make progress on your goals and your dreams. So the second big idea that I want to share with you in relation to what's possible for you is that it is really important that we need to overcome limiting beliefs. So limiting beliefs are false or inaccurate thoughts and perceptions that constrain us in some way. So they're basically mental blocks that prevent us from achieving our full potential. Often they are based in our experiences as a child, or, in our communities, or maybe even in relation to our families. So often, I find it so fascinating the way that different people speak to each other within families. And again, this is something that I've seen because I've been into so many people's homes, styling them for, various reasons. And you kind of see people, husbands and wives, talking to each other, or parents talking to children, or, even when you have your own children and you hear how other family members talk to their children, and you think, wow, I would never talk to my child in that way. Like we've obviously all got different experiences, but to sort of be like, I don't know, so negative towards a child, I would never, ever do that. So, but it's really important to recognize that within yourself about how you talk. So some examples of how this might show up for you is you might experience self-doubt. That's a limiting belief. And you might say, I'm not good enough to do this, or I don't have the skills. And so, I'm going to go through some steps in terms of how you can overcome that. But, and again, yesterday I was talking about how you can flip the script on that to say, like, I don't have the skills yet, or I'm still, instead of I'm not good enough, you could say, I'm learning. And that is how you can really take that self-doubt and start to turn it around. We can have limiting beliefs around fear of failure. And, you might think to yourself, like, if I try and, I might fail, and that's going to be really embarrassing. And you really worry about that. And so again, you've got to really recognize, like, what are the thoughts that are coming up for you, and how can you turn that around? I mean, first of all, and look, I think we all have elements of this, but I always have to remind myself that people are not as worried about us as what we think they are. They're so much more concerned about what's going on in their own lives. And, there are times when I'm just completely amazed by this. You sort of think that, even just things like, sometimes I think, I know that, obviously I'm trying to let people know that my course, the Styling Masterclass, is open for enrollment, and actually enrollment's closed today, depending on when you're listening to this episode. And, you don't want to, be pushy or anything like that, but still, no, it doesn't matter how many times, like, I sort of, trying to tread that line carefully about letting people know and not sort of, being overbearing with it. And I still always get emails saying like, oh, did I miss it? Or, and they're so upset about it. And I think, wow, people are so wrapped up in their own lives that, we can't think that, we really can't think that. We can also have a fear of success. So we can think things like, if I succeed, people will expect too much from me. Or, and there's this worry that, like, what will that look like and what our lives will look like? And we're worried that it will change us too much. So there can be a fear of success. And there's a book called The Big Leap, and it kind of goes into that idea of how often, people hit this ceiling within their business, and they actually self-sabotage a lot because they're actually fearful of having success. And so think about, have you ever self-sabotaged yourself? Just suddenly added that extra project to your list of things to do, or that extra task or whatever it is, and you're really setting yourself up for failure because in some ways there's part of you that doesn't want to succeed because it's worried about what that might look like. You might have imposter syndrome and you think, I don't deserve my success, or I'm a fraud. And you feel like, people are giving you accolades and you don't feel like you're worthy of it, or, who am I to style somebody else's home, or who am I to, do X, Y, and Z. And so, those are things that can come up. Those are limiting beliefs that you can have about yourself. And instead, I did an episode, and I'll share a link in the show notes, but it's called, why not you? You've really got to step into this idea of that you are just as worthy of achieving success or doing these things as anybody else. And it's episode 185. It's called Why Not You? How to Get Out of Your Own Way. And again, so often we can put these restrictions in our way and really hold ourselves back just because of the way that we're thinking about ourselves. And perfectionism, if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing, which we looked at in detail yesterday about perfectionism and procrastination and how they can hold you back. So, it's really important to reflect time, spend time reflecting on your thoughts and your behaviors to really identify, what is showing up for you. How do you speak about yourself? Try and catch yourself, the thoughts that you have. So journaling can be a really helpful tool for that. I find myself just being mindful of my thoughts and really trying to catch them and notice them, and creating awareness around them is really, really helpful. I find that helpful for myself. And noticing triggers and patterns, notice when or where you feel stuck or unmotivated. And what are those thoughts going through your mind at those times? And, sometimes it can also be a season that you're in, or it can be around other things that are going on in your life. And sometimes we just need to give ourselves, a break and say, look, this is, everyone's sick at home and this is just a really challenging time, or whatever it is for you. And just recognize that and give yourself a little bit of grace as well. Sometimes it can also, we can get feedback based from others. It can be from friends or mentors or coaches. I'm smiling as I say that because I kind of recognize how I've done this so often within my group coaching program, Design and Grow. I can see it instantly, the limiting beliefs that people have about themselves and about their businesses and about their growth. And that is something that, sometimes somebody else, particularly an outsider, can see it so easily. And even with my mom, like I can see it so much with her because we're spending more time together because she's been living apart from me and now she's moved down the road. And it's so lovely to have this time together. But, I can see some thoughts that she has that I'm trying to encourage her, like, just don't worry about that, and, the things that everyone's got worries and, the worries that she has. And I can see some of the thoughts that she has. And it just really comes up very clearly to me, particularly because it's been a while, like I've done a lot of personal development work myself and self-reflection myself. And so I can really recognize it in myself and I can see it in others. Whereas when we spent a lot more time together when I was still living in Sydney and she wasn't living in Sydney, I hadn't gone on this journey myself. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. And you need to question the belief. One of the really helpful questions is to say, is this true? Is there evidence to support this? Would this hold up in a court of law? If you had to go to a court of law and say, something like, I don't have, let's say the one that, because that's a bit tricky. Like if I try, it will be embarrassing. Could you hold that up in a court of law? You couldn't, because it could be argued either way. You could argue for the different, whatever, it wouldn't hold up in a court of law. So it has to be a fact, something that is, truly a fact. So you've got to question the belief. Like I said, reframe the belief. So like flip the script on it in terms of, I'm not good enough. It can become, I'm capable, and can keep improving with this. So they are really important. And what is really, really important, and this is something that I've had to step into, is to take action despite the beliefs. So even if you feel that discomfort within you, or you're not quite certain yet, to kind of go, I'm just going to try anyway. And I know that I've done this so many times. I've done this when I've been styling homes that I step into and I'm like, wow. Like I remember when I had to style Kelly Wersler's home in Los Angeles. Oh my goodness. Like, that was a challenge for me to kind of step into my belief of like, oh, I don't know if I'm quite up for this. And, and having that confidence, encouraging myself to kind of make tweaks and changes and all of those things. And yet, to sort of take action despite the beliefs that I was having at that time, despite the doubts and all of those things. And we need to really face our fears as well. So we need to face them head on. We need to, just like I said, recognize that they are a fear and say, okay, I see that you're there and I'm going to do this because I'm going to be logical about this and I'm going to go one step after another. When we break it down into small steps, it can feel much more manageable. And then celebrate your success as well. So really celebrate your achievements, no matter how small they are. And, really like that will give you so much momentum. I mean, it's funny because I've said to myself, because I fell out a little bit of a habit of meditating and I would always do my yoga, and because I felt like, oh, there's not enough time. And so now I say to myself, even if it's 2 minutes is better than none. And so sometimes it is just 2 minutes. But now I really look forward to, even if it is just 2 minutes, then I will do that. And the same with going into the gym and doing exercises, resistance training. And I'll say, I've just got to go in and do like 2 minutes or 5 minutes. And, that seems achievable. And of course, once I'm in there for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And so, breaking it down, even though I have so many, talk about limiting beliefs or like, have to really talk myself into doing something. And it's like, okay, come on, we can do this. And we're just going to break it down into small actionable steps. And then also, it is so important to surround yourself with positivity. So surround yourself with people who believe in you or on a similar journey to you. My husband and I, we've been together for nearly 26 years, and we have, certainly like any long relationship like that, we have gone through ups and downs and all of those things. But yet we are both growing and evolving together in terms of our personal development journey. And I think that it's so important to have people around you who are growing and evolving as well. And so that might be within your personal network. And if it's not, then find other ways through programs, coaching, courses, community, however you might do that, do that. Also, books, podcasts, whatever it is, so that you can feel connected to other people who are on a similar journey to you. I mean, whenever I listen to the Huberman podcast about protein, I feel more empowered and excited about having more protein, even though it's not something, I'm sort of more of a vegetarian than not. And I mean, I would happily be a vegetarian if it wasn't that I find it really hard to get enough protein. Don't judge me, but I just do. And I mean, even though we eat really well, because you have to have a lot of protein, particularly as you're getting older. I mean, I'm approaching my 50s now. And, there's all this evidence that you need to have, I think it's, don't quote me on this, but 1 gram of protein for every kilo of ideal body weight or something like that. So essentially, like for a woman of my age, I need to be eating about, I think it's about 90 or 100 grams of protein a day. Like I'm not going to just get that from chickpeas, even though I eat a lot of chickpeas and like chia and, quinoa and all of those things. Anyway, another story for another day. But what I'm saying is that when I am listening to those kind of podcasts, I feel like, yes, I'm not the only one trying to do this. I'm not the only one trying to improve my health, or, in relation to interiors or whatever my goals are. So it's also, really important that, so the idea 3 here is about setting clear goals and taking action. So like I said, break it down, SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. It is so important to do that for any goal that you have. So if you want to become an interior stylist, if you want to take your interior design business to the next level, if you're an interior photographer and you want to get more clients, if you've got an Airbnb, you need to set SMART goals around it. You need to be really specific. You need to have measurements in relation to that, not just some vague idea that I want to get more clients. How many more clients? Not some vague idea that, I want to style homes. Well, okay, how are you going to do that? What does success look like for you in relation to that? Is it having clients? How many clients? And breaking it down. What time frame are you going to achieve this in? You need to set SMART goals. Really important. So the idea 4, I've sort of touched on this already, is about building a support system. So it's having a support system, a network around you, like-minded individuals, mentors, really finding and nurturing those relationships that will help make this possible for you. An idea 5 is to visualize your future. I do this every single morning. Every single morning, I write in a notebook about my goal by the end of this year and achieving my goal and what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, where I'm going to be, all of those things. And I'm constantly connecting with my goals. And I really encourage you to do that for yourself as well. So you really need to live into this idea of what is possible for you and live into how you're going to bring that to life. It's really important to do that, to see yourself in the future achieving the goals that you've set for yourself, styling those beautiful homes around the world or working with those amazing clients, and visualize that. See yourself 5 years from now. What are you doing? See yourself living that life, where you're living, what your home looks like, maybe what financial freedom looks like to you, what's in your bank balance, whatever that is for you, to really visualize that, connect with it, and you need to stay connected with it every single day. So I've shared some different ideas with you today in terms of, first of all, knowing what's possible for you and really creating that awareness for yourself in terms of what your potential is, connecting to, the possibilities of what other people have done in relation to this. And we've also looked at the second big idea we looked at is how you can overcome limiting beliefs. So recognize that in yourself, how you talk about yourself, how you can reflect on that, and how you can reframe that as well so that you can start to achieve what you want to. We've looked at the idea of setting clear goals and taking action on those goals. We can't just, have these wishes and wants. We need to actually break them down into specific goals and take action. Idea 4 was all about, which I touched on a little bit earlier, this idea of, a support system, having people who are on a similar journey to us, connecting with like-minded people. We can do this in our own communities or through coaching or through courses and, the communities that you will find in those kind of programs, listening to podcasts, reading books, all of those things to nurture what is within us. And then the 5th idea is to really visualize your future and how important it is to not just visualize it, but stay connected with it every single day. I hope that this has been really helpful for you, and I really encourage you to take action on at least one idea that I've shared with you today. And I just want you to know that, like I said at the start of this episode, I truly believe that if you have a desire within you, it is there for a reason. And to find a moment of quiet and find a moment of calm, just close your eyes and really listen to what that whisper within is saying to you. What is it that you really want for your life? What is it that you want to be doing and living and breathing and achieving and experiencing, say 5 years from now? And what are those steps that you need to start taking today to start making that happen? I really hope and wish for you that you can take a quick moment to really reflect on that. And if there's any way that I can help you, then please let me know. And please know as well, I guess, that, I hope that that is what this podcast is for you, that it is your support network and it's helping you on your journey. And I hope that this episode gives you the encouragement that you need to pursue your goals and your dreams, because I do want you to know that it is possible, that what you want is possible for you. Have a beautiful week. All of the links and info for this episode are at nataliewalton.com/podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can get a direct download of the latest episode. And I really appreciate when you take a minute to rate and review, as well as share the love with someone you know who might benefit from this episode, or on social media. If you'd like to access a range of free resources, come visit my website, nataliewalton.com. Thank you to Jaeger Media for producing this podcast. And I would also like to acknowledge the people of the Bundjalung Nation where it was recorded, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I look forward to connecting again soon. I'm Natalie Walton, and you've been listening to Imprint.